I'm gonna make a character with dice. I did this once before and you guys seem to like it, so we're doing it again. But if you're new here and you don't know what's going on, here's how it works. I have tables with some sort of word or descriptor. I roll the dice and get a number. That number then gives me a prompt from the table to apply to the character design. If I have something specific that I want to ask the dice, I'll form it as a yes or no question. If I get under 10, that means yes, and if I get over 11, that means no. As always, a good character design has a purpose or foundation, and the one that I'm gonna go with is a Royal Monarch for Mistwind, which is my solo D&D campaign that I'm also sharing on this channel. So without further ado, let's get rolling. So here is my table of D&D races, since this is going to be for my D&D campaign Mistwind. I'm gonna roll a d12, a 4, which is a drow. Interesting already. And this time around, I kind of want to do a spectrum of femininity versus masculinity. So let's say 1 is feminine, 10 is masculine, and we'll just see where they land on that. 6, which I would say is pretty much in the middle, no? But leaning more toward masculine, but maybe some trickles of androgyny in there, right? So I also want to remind everyone that we're just having fun here, okay? I'm not taking this too seriously, so I'm asking you not to take this too seriously either. Specifically the D100 with the D10 and the percentile dice. I'm just gonna set it right now how I'm gonna read them, so there's no like confusion. For the sake of consistency here, and because this is just the way that I like to read these dice, we're gonna treat the 0 on a d10 as a 10 at all times, okay? And the 0 on the percentile as 0 at all times. Moving on. So let's get some character identity stuff going on here. I'm gonna use the universal NPC generator with an NPC adjective and an NPC noun. 29, which is solemn. Oh no. And okay, 0, and then a 0. So this is 0 and this is a 10. So I'm gonna treat this as a 10. Okay, please don't get mad at me. Thug, solemn thug for, I guess, a king? Huh, solemn. Okay, so maybe this person, I'm gonna say he, okay, because king, he will be a little androgynous, but I'm just gonna say he is solemn. And from that, I'm getting that he didn't want to be king. He didn't want to be the monarch of Mistwind. And he's a thug, which is... okay, what can I do with that? More aggression or in how he rules Mistwind? Okay, let's see. I'm gonna ask the dice. Is the thug part more of a behavioral, like aggression type thing? 5, yes. Okay, which I'm pretty glad about because I don't want Mistwind to have like almost like an oppressive or violent king, but maybe he's violent or aggressive just as a person and not exactly or necessarily as a ruler. Let's get some appearance words here. 86, which is stocky. Okay, I'm seeing square, you know, shape language. I'm seeing more rectangles and squares rather than triangle and circle. But we can try and get some sort of other shape in there with the second one. 72, reassuring. Reassuring? How does a person look reassuring? Is it like they look kind? Or for some reason, describing someone as reassuring makes me feel like it's a mask that they're putting on and that it's like fake. I guess it's the pessimist in me speaking, but do I want that for this character? Is his reassuring look real? Okay, yes. Okay, so he is stocky and reassuring. Okay, it's giving a gentle giant. I guess I'll ask, is he tall? No. Okay, instead of tall, is it more average height? No. Okay, so short for a drow. It's just like Ren. Last time we also got short, even for a hobgoblin. Short, stocky, and reassuring. And he's a solemn thug. I think maybe the thug part is coming from a place where he doesn't mean to be an aggressive person, but there's just that part of him that kind of gets out of control sometimes. It's almost like maybe I can relate, okay? Because for me, sometimes when I get in a particularly irritable mood, like when I'm on my period or when I'm frustrated, I tend to raise my voice. And sometimes that ends up coming out as almost like lashing out, okay? Being vulnerable in this moment. But I can take that part of myself and put it into this character where he's solemn, he's reassuring, and he's stocky. And he's giving very much like a sweet guy. You know, he means well. But in his low times, that thug or whatever, I guess, part of his character comes out, and maybe he raises his voice, maybe he yells, maybe he's got anger issues, but for the most part he keeps it under control, which is why he looks so reassuring. And remember, that reassuring look to him is genuine. And honestly, I'm gonna say right now, I think he's almost ashamed of that aggressive part of himself. Okay, I'm already like really attached to this guy. All right, let's see. Hair wise, is his hair white like a typical drow you would see? I guess no, it's not white. What other hair colors do drow have other than like black? There's not a lot of hair colors that can go with a cool toned, brightly colored skin like that. I'll ask, is the hair color dark? No? I got no for white, no for dark. So maybe it's light, but it's not white. Is it light purple? 3, yes. All right, light purple. Is he a gray drow? So his skin as a drow is more muted and a bit on the grayer side. Instead of like a purple or blue, you know, it's giving more gray. And let's roll a d10 for the value of this skin. So let's do 10 is dark and then 1 is pale. 8. So very deep skin tone that's giving gray. So I guess it's leaning more towards a very dark gray plus light purple hair. Is that hair long? 2, yes. So what I'm envisioning right now is a guy who has kind of a wider face shaped as a square, and his eyebrows are very high on his face, which is supposed to be the reassuring part, you know. He doesn't look mean, but he's a little solemn, so maybe his eyes are droopy or angled in a way that makes him look solemn, and perhaps he doesn't smile, or if he is smiling, it's a very slight smile that's like leaning more into the reassuring bit. And he has long hair, so I'm gonna ask, is this hair curly? 11, which is barely a no. So it's not curly. Is it straight? 11 again. So I guess is it wavy? Yes, 10. That was weird. I rolled 2 11 and then a 10. Like, was very much in the middle with that dice. How long exactly is this hair? 10, very long. 1, will start at like, I don't know, I guess chin length. That's a 6. So it's longer than the halfway mark. So I'm thinking like, I don't know, like chest area is where it stops. Ooh, does he tie it in a ponytail? 14, no. Is it like a half up, half down type of vibe? No. Is it tied up at all? No. Okay, so it's all just down. All right. And the last thing that I'm gonna ask before I head over to a bit more of his backstory and outfit and stuff is he young? 10. Okay, honestly, I was kind of hoping I would get a no because I kind of want him to be old, but we'll work with that. 10 is barely a yes. So young is a very broad term. It makes me curious if like he hasn't been king for that long. So let's ask that. Has he been king for a long time? 2. Okay, he's young, but he's been king for a long time. That's kind of contradicting itself, but that makes me think that he inherited the throne at a very young age, and perhaps there was a regent at one point, but when he came of age, he was king since then, and because he's a drow and drow are elves and they live longer, he's been king for quite a while in terms of like human years, I guess. But despite that, for a drow, he's still rather young. So this is a very quick sketch that I did right now. I don't know if he looks like this at all in the actual video because I haven't done it yet. I think I want his eyebrows to be even higher, which might be a challenge because his face isn't super long, but I guess his face can be rectangular, and still keep the stocky part of it instead of being a square. Yeah, it's getting somewhere. And finally, let's come up with a name. I always forget about the name, even though I feel like I should be doing it way earlier in this process. But I might be the type of person that can more match a name to a face than a face to a name. So perhaps this works out. This name table is also from Mythic GME 2E, which is going to be linked in the description. I'm just going to roll until I have something that I can work with. 1, so 46 KR and 43 KE. And let's do a fourth one. 8, which is AS. A lot of A's, a lot of K's. And I am aware that there is a drow naming convention. So I'm gonna go look at that and see what kind of ideas I can get while I look at these syllables and also the drow list. So I'm gonna look for A's and K's in this list that I found from Reddit. And the first one that I already see is alak, which means beloved as a prefix, or best or first. And I'm just gonna write this down. It's not gonna be for sure what I'm gonna use, all right? I see Kel, which is legendary singing song. That covers the KE kinda. Let's look for AS. There's Kalan. And then suffixes. There's as, which is literally one of the syllables I rolled, which means savant, a scholar, or a wizard. Which is already kind of ironic now, because if you're aware of the context of Mistwind, which I'm making this character for, magic is a secret in that world. Alakas, Kelas, Kalanas. I think I like how Kelas sounds the best, although maybe my pronunciation could use a little work. Kelas. It sounds like callus, which might match this character a little bit because of the stocky part and the thug part. Calloused hands. So I'm going with Kelas as Kelas. Oh God, how do I say this? As the first name, and then for the last name, I'm gonna combine the other two syllables that I haven't used, which is an A and then KR. And I decided I want to put an apostrophe between them. So A apostrophe KR, and that's the beginning of whatever their surname is. And I'm gonna go to fantasy name generators from the drow ones and kind of just find a common sounding syllables to match with it. A cranium. Okay, that sounds like a cranium, like a head skull thing, and I don't like it. What about A'krentor? A'krentor actually sounds pretty elven. A'krentor, but there's almost like a sinister sounding thing from it because of the KR, that it's giving more drow rather than high elf or something. So I think that's his name, King Kelas A'krentor. So this was like Game of Thrones. What would they call him? Because you know how they have the Queen Who Never Was, or the Mad King, or Baelor the Blessed, or something. So if this is a guy who's been king for a pretty long time and he doesn't want to be king, what could be a good title for that? What's another word for reluctant? Oh my God. Okay, so I was looking for synonyms for reluctant, and I'm seeing unconfident. So I'm thinking King Kelas A'krentor, the unconfident. Because maybe people see him as the type of king who isn't very active. He doesn't take a lot of action because of his unwillingness to be king. And so that has kind of become almost like a stigma with his rule, is that he's just so unconfident. And maybe people don't like him as a king because of that. So hopefully I've finished drawing his face by now, and we're gonna move on to the full body, where I will figure out what outfit he's wearing and some of his motives and a little bit more about his backstory. Okay, so it's time to figure out what he's wearing. We know that he's stocky, we know that he's short, and we know that he's a king. So I'm just gonna look up what kings wear and ask questions about those. So something that I immediately envisioned for some reason was like a robe, almost like a cape that a king would wear, like what you would see in portraits of a king, right? So is he wearing something like that? 7, which is a yes. Does this cape have fur, like the fur lining? 20, no. I'm kind of glad about that because I'm not that great at drawing fur, I feel like. So that's a 20, which means it's like really no as it can be. So I'm thinking no fur, no type of fluff at all. Maybe it's just very like flowy robe-like cape, right? I'm almost thinking of what you see a lot in medieval things. It's just a very like flowy type of cloak almost for the king. And I'm also envisioning some sort of undergarment, but it's not an undergarment. It's like just under his coat or whatever, where he's almost wearing like a belt and then a long skirt. So let's ask about that. Is it a long skirt or dress, I suppose? No, it's not. So possibly it's a belt and then it's I don't know what it's called, but it's not like long. It's still a long enough shirt, I guess, that he's wearing, where if you put a belt around it, it looks like a little mini dress. If that makes sense. Hopefully it does. It'll make more sense once you see me drawing it. So while I was drawing his face, I also decided that I wanted him to be wearing a tiara instead of a crown, and he kind of uses it as a headband. I don't really like how the tiara looks from the bust, so I might change that while I draw the full body, but we'll see. I also want to ask if he has a lot of like embellishments around, like a lot of decoration on his outfit, just a bunch of tiny details. 17, no. So no embellishments, which is those like very intricate patterns, which I'm a little grateful for, but I'm worried his design is gonna look kind of boring without it. So I'm gonna ask, is there a lot of jewelry, like bejewelment? A lot of jewelry hanging and stuff like that. Yes, awesome. Something I can work with. Ooh. Does his cape have, oh god, what is it called? A collar, like Doctor Strange. 4, yes. Okay, so there's some sort of collar going on here, which might get a little in the way of his hair, which I didn't really think about before I rolled, but we're just gonna have to make it work. Maybe it's like a turtleneck, you know, instead of a one that like flares out. I'll mess around with it. When I showed my sister, actually, she pronounced it as Kayla's, like Kayla, but with an S at the end. So maybe I'll say it like that so it doesn't sound like callous. Kayla's maybe values his cape more than any other garment that he's wearing. He really likes this cape, and I kind of wanted to ask about ruffles. Are there ruffles somewhere? 7, yes. I think I'm gonna mess around with ruffles being like at the bottom of the cape or at the bottom of stuff. I don't know, or maybe the inner part of the cape. I'm gonna mess around with that and see if I like how it looks. So it's still looking a little boring in my mind. So I'm gonna ask if he's holding some sort of staff. In a lot of the pictures that I see of kings, they're holding some sort of like, I don't know, staff or like mini staff. What is it called? Maybe staff isn't the word for it, but anyway, does he have something like that? 1, very yes. Okay, is it like bejeweled? 9. Okay, so let's roll on some colors. In his portrait, I kind of snuck in a little bit of a darker purple as a shadow, but that's just a stylistic choice, and also like this kind of like hot pinkish color, but I don't have to commit to that. Is the dominant color in his color scheme for his outfit dark? 19. No, so it's not a dark color, so it's probably not black. I'm still envisioning his cape to be the one thing that like really stands out on his outfit, right? So I don't think it would be white. Maybe the inner part is white. Is the cape purple? Yes. I'm envisioning like a darker version of his hair. I think that's enough for the outfit. That's a lot of things I can work with and mess around with. So for the rest of the video, I'm gonna roll on his backstory and get to know him a little bit more, get to know a bit more of his personality, maybe how he is as a king. We already know that he is typically not liked by the people since they've deemed him to be an unconfident king. We can figure out what kind of decisions he made, or maybe decisions that he didn't make, that caused people to call him unconfident. Is he called King Kelas the Unconfident because of a decision he failed to make? 18. No. Okay. Was it because of a decision that he did make? 10. Yes. Okay, so we've got to figure out what that decision is, but I'm also curious. Is he called the Unconfident because he's bad at public speaking? 20. No. Okay, so I'll take that 20 as meaning he's great at public speaking, which might contradict the unconfident bit a little bit, but the unconfident part comes from the decisions that he has made as king. So what's a decision that a king would make that would make me feel like he is not confident in what he is doing? Perhaps it's really obvious that the decisions that he's making are just the ones that his advisors want him to do. He's not really making his own choices and own judgments. And from his public speaking stuff, his speeches, he almost makes it like incredibly obvious that he's kind of just doing this because they told him to. And it kind of makes sense because he doesn't want to be king in the first place. This thing has been on his shoulders since he was a kid, I'm assuming. So maybe the person who was his regent before he became of age is now his main advisor, and this main advisor is very obviously, from the looks of it, just steering him into whatever direction they want him to go. And the people know this, and they're just calling him unconfident because he has no sense of self as king. You know, I think there could be a better kind of explanation of the unconfident thing, but my mind's kind of blanking on that, so I'm gonna move on and ask a little bit more about his personality. So I'm gonna use the character trait and flaws table from Mythic GME 2E. We got 65, which is odd. He's odd. Maybe the thing that people find odd about him is that he's just like not really motivated. I'm almost getting like aloof here, but there's probably a better word. But it's like if he's not getting forced to go make a speech, which he is like albeit good at, but maybe he doesn't enjoy it, he is like instead doing whatever hobby that he finds, right? So maybe he has a lot of hobbies. I mean, this guy has a lot of time on his hands, so he'll be doing whatever hobbies. So okay, because I thought of it because it was one of my hobbies at one point. Does he like to do his nails? Please be yes. No, it's a 17. It's a no. Does he like to build things like miniatures? I'm kind of leaning towards like Viserys Targaryen from House of Dragon here, who like to build miniature buildings. 18, no? Okay. I'm just like pouring all of my hobbies into this guy, and I'm gonna ask what he likes. Right, I guess it has to be odd in some type of way. And I thought about reading, but it's not really odd. But maybe the type of book he's reading is odd. Okay, does he like reading? No. 11. Oh my god, dice, give me something. Is he an artist? Literally just asking stuff about myself. 5. Okay, so he's an artist, but there's something odd about the things he draws. Oh god. The first thing that I thought of, I know my head is in the gutter, is like, is it like NSFW stuff that he draws? Oh god, it's a 6. It's a yes. So I guess people find that odd about him. I mean, there are so many artists who do this nowadays. Like, is it really that odd? I don't think it's odd, but maybe in Mistwind it's odd. Or at least odd for the king to do it. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask if he's married. Although I kind of don't want him to be. Kind of see him like as a single king, you know? But let's ask, is he married? 5 again. Okay, he is married. Was this a political marriage? 14, no. Okay, it was not a political marriage. So was it a marriage of love? 18, no. It's giving either a marriage of convenience or a marriage of friendship, because it wasn't political. So I'm assuming it wasn't an arranged marriage, which was like arranged by his advisor or the person who used to be his regent. It wasn't out of love. So I'm assuming they're not in love. Were they friends? And they just decided like, hey, let's get married. You're the closest thing and I don't want anyone else to like force me to marry someone else. 1, oh my god. Okay, absolutely yes. So he has a friend who he decided to marry because he was thinking maybe a lot of things are being decided for me in my life and I'm kind of just letting them. But this is the one thing I want to choose. I want to choose my spouse. So let's roll a d10 on the spectrum of femininity and masculinity for the spouse. I think what I did was 10 is masculine, 1 is feminine. Like ultra feminine, ultra masculine. What is it? A 3. So leaning more on the feminine side is this friend. They are friends, perhaps best friends, but they're not in love. So I guess this is our like queen consort. And you know what? I'm not gonna ask too much about this queen because maybe I'll make it into a video where we'll find out more about who they are. I'm gonna put that to the side for now, but I am very curious who this regent is. Who was the regent? Was it an aunt or uncle? 4. Okay. Was it an uncle? No, it was an aunt. If it was an uncle, it was kind of giving like Prince Char and the uncle in Enchanted, but I guess it's not. But it could still have that vibe, but an aunt instead. So this aunt is the one that's kind of his main advisor and is the one that's making a lot of the decisions for him. And this aunt could be her own character too, so I don't want to get in too much about her, okay? So I'm gonna put that on the side, but at least we know his regent is his aunt. But once again, no longer his regent because now he's of age and he's been king for a very long time. So now she is his main advisor. There is also a noble house table here in Mythic that I'm a little interested in. So I'm just gonna roll here. Maybe we find out a little bit more about his family. 81, which is strange. Okay, we got odd and strange. What kind of noble house is strange? What makes them strange? What? I'm gonna write it down, but at the moment I cannot think of anything. Maybe you guys can help me with this, okay? So his bloodline or his family, his noble house, they're strange, apparently. I was kind of hoping to get some type of word that would let me know, like, what are they mainly known for? Like, are they known to be, voice crack, are they known to be extremely powerful? Are they known to be oppressors? Are they known to be, you know, like maybe aggressive because he has that type of anger issue about him? But then I got strange, so I don't know. Help me out in the comments. There's also a character skills table that I will roll on. 79. 79. What is his skill? Ruin? Huh? Let me zoom in on that. Ruin? Ruin is his skill? What do you mean? Okay, I have an idea. Maybe he likes to break things. Maybe he is ashamed of this just aggression inside of him and he doesn't like it. He doesn't like the possibility of hurting someone during one of his like lashing outs or tantrums. Tantrums is a really great word for it. Plus, because if you think about it, I mean, he's rich. He's probably a spoiled brat, which is why he has these tantrums, but he doesn't like that this happens. So perhaps he knows that he needs to like kind of funnel this violence and aggression into something else that isn't like another person, right? So maybe occasionally as a hobby, he'll just break stuff. Like he'll tell his servants to bring him stuff to break. Maybe he literally like commissions artisans and people of that sort in Mistwind to create these things that he would break. So they know that he's gonna break it. Maybe people find that odd about him also. And it's just like this event, this like really just like take your anger out on this thing type of event. And he's really good at it. He's really good at breaking these things and ruining these things. Perhaps they make sculptures and he just like gets some sort of weapon and he just like smashes it, you know, or a table or whatever, right? I mean, it is a little cathartic to like smash and break things, right? Especially when you're like finally allowed to, because I think he wants to smash and break things. He wants to punch the wall when he's angry or when he's yelling and stuff. But when he's in the palace, he can't exactly do that. Even though he is the king, this is his home and he doesn't want to wreck it. He doesn't want to ruin it. So instead he goes outside, tells people to gather a bunch of items that he can break, and it's time to get smashing. I kind of love that. I kind of wish that I could do that. I'm gonna pause rolling for now with a little story time. In my 3D art class, we had finished making like a cardboard project of something. It was like a pretty big project and it caused a lot of turmoil for people because it was kind of difficult. We were working on it for weeks, and when we finally finished it, we showed it off. We critiqued it. My professor was like, all right, take your stuff and come with me to the back. If you don't want to keep it, we're gonna throw it in the big garbage bin. And so we followed him, and we got there. He was like, okay, stop. And we kind of just like, you know, grouped up, and he was telling us, all right, I know you guys hated this project. You probably hated doing this. You probably hated hot gluing cardboard. So we gotta flatten out cardboard and boxes before we throw them. So just take all your anger out on this project and smash it on the ground, step on it, jump on it, punch it, throw it at the wall or something. Just destroy it, flatten it out before we throw it in the bin. And it was like, it did feel really good. It was kind of like this like therapeutic like moment where we were all just collectively like destroying our project. I didn't like mine. I did not like doing it. It's not the type of art that I enjoy doing. So I was like, I hate you. Like, I hate all the hot glue that got on my fingers, you know? And so that was like, it's therapeutic, right? To do that, especially in a situation where there's no consequences for it. And plus, he's giving work to these like artisans and stuff. Yeah, he's gonna break their great pieces of work, but at least they know what they're getting into. They know that this thing's gonna break. And sometimes artists make things that are not meant to last, you know? Maybe some of them do stuff where part of the artwork, it's performative, right? So maybe part of what makes it an artwork is breaking it. Maybe there's like confetti inside, like a piñata or something, you know, that he just smashes and then candy comes out. Or the artwork is inside and he smashes it open, he sees it and he's like, whoa, you know, I love this. It's like kind of really cool. Maybe it's even like this like big event that he does that like people can watch him ruin things. I don't know. Anyway, I feel like I've talked about it way too much. So let's move on. I know I didn't get too much into his backstory and his childhood and stuff, but I can do that outside of the video. So at least it's still a surprise to a lot of you who are watching my Mistwind series, Universal NPC Emulator has this motivation generator, and you're supposed to roll 3 motivations for the NPC. And honestly, you can get a lot of like details out of it, out of your own interpretations of this. So I'm gonna roll 2, and I'm gonna roll the third one in secret so that there's still something hidden, you know, for the Mistwind enjoyers. So let's do that. 12, progress, 45, progress, pain, huh? Oh no. And this is his motive. Progress, pain. Whose pain are you progressing? I got really scared, but also really worried, because is he hurting someone or is he hurting himself? Is there a lot of inner pain going on here? But why is it progressing? Why is his motive to progress it? I know the meaning of progress, but sometimes I like to get some inspirations out of the definition of it, because sometimes I think of it in one note, but looking at the definition of it, I get a little bit more ideas. Oh, okay. So here's one that says a state of journey or official tour, especially by royalty, a progress. Although that's when it's being used as a noun, but I think in this context, it's supposed to be used as a verb. But that seems a little relevant to what we're doing, because it's like by royalty, like a tour by royalty, but that I'm not really getting any ideas relating that to pain. There's one that's, you know, advance or develop toward a better, more complete or modern state. But how do you, because progress is supposed to move towards something good, right? Something is developing, but how can pain be good? Is it a progress of the current pain? Does it mean for the country that the country is almost in disarray, some kind of pain that is progressing and he's trying to progress that? Which might make sense because there was a war in Mistwind. It wasn't that long ago that it ended. And so perhaps the country is still kind of recovering from the consequences of that war. And maybe he's trying to make stuff better, but his aunt, his main advisor, keeps steering him away from it, because maybe she doesn't want to make things better. Maybe she likes it when people are struggling and stuff, because it gives more power to the people up above. Ooh, spicy. All right, and let's roll this second motive, and I'll roll the third motive in secret, okay? 35, construct. 23, enemies. Construct enemies? Construct enemies. Okay, you know, construct, to build. That does relate to being a king, because he has the power to kind of buildings being made, projects and stuff like that. But he's constructing enemies, but I can add in some words in there, so it's like maybe construct for enemies, construct against enemies, construct with enemies, which is, I don't like it. I don't want him to be evil. I don't want him to be bad guy, because I have attached to him and he seems like a good guy in my head and my heart, okay? Does he know about magic? Please be yes. 19, no! He doesn't know about magic. So he's building something either for an enemy, with an enemy, or against an enemy. But whose enemy? His enemy? His aunt's enemy? Is it his aunt's enemy? This enemy in question. 5, yes. So I'm thinking maybe he's kind of decided he's a little sick of her, okay? Maybe he's not entirely ignorant of this aunt abusing her power over him. Her power over him, and in turn her power over the country or the kingdom. So maybe he's catching on to it a little bit, and he's like, I'm gonna build something that she doesn't know about, and I'm gonna build it against a particular political opponent that his aunt advisor has. Maybe one of the other advisors. Is it one of the other advisors? 6, yes. So he's building something with another advisor. A building, an item, an object. Is it a building? No, it is not a building. So I'm gonna take that like exceptional no, basically. I'm gonna use it to kind of just decide that since it's definitely not a building, I think it's some sort of object. And that could be interesting, but I feel like I don't want you guys to know what this object is yet, because this could be a big reveal in Mistwind. So once again, I'm gonna do the third motivation off camera, but I think that is all for Kelas A'krentor, the unconfident king. He, honestly, I kind of want to protect him. Like, that is how I'm feeling towards this character right now. I want to protect him. I can relate to him because sometimes, you know, maybe you do just want to yell into a pillow. Maybe you just want to grab a baseball bat and like smash a vase or something, because sometimes it's therapeutic. And it's not like he likes being that aggressive when he gets angry. So whenever he isn't angry, he tries to be mellow, a mellow person. He's really good at public speaking, which is a little surprising. And the people think that he's unconfident because he gets swayed a lot by his advisors. And they kind of find him strange because he has some strange hobbies like drawing NSFW stuff and also breaking stuff that he commissions artists to make. And maybe some of those things are NSFW sculptures. Who knows, you know? Have you guys ever seen that chair that is like crazy, like just has a lot of like NSFW stuff on it in history? If you haven't, look it up. But basically, it's this chair that they found in history. I think some rich person owned it in history. And it's like this golden chair, and in the embellishments are like the small tiny sculpted parts of it. It's just like erotica. Like a bunch of different poses, a bunch of different parts of the body, and it gets really detailed. I mean, you could consider this thing like a masterpiece by whoever made it, you know? But I don't remember what it's called. If you find it, then put it in the comments for those who are curious. Anyway, he would probably love that chair. Kelas would, honestly, maybe he's commissioned someone to make that chair, and maybe there was a time where he was like, okay, time to break it. But then he looked at it one more time and he's like, no, it's too much of a masterpiece, and he couldn't bring himself to break it. And so he just kept it. He just has it somewhere in a room, and it looks just like a normal, like fancy chair at a first glance. So then you get closer to it and then you squint and you really look at the design, and you're just like, oh my god, what is happening here? So that is all for this video. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope he looks great in my drawing. I still have to draw him. I hope you like how he looks, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.